Last minute always goes so long.
Exactly.
Do, 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 do.
Sure.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Kushner,
Here.
Osborne,
Here.
Latari,
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Euler.
Here.
Thank you.
City Council minutes, motion to approve regular City Council meeting minutes dated March 9, 2026.
I so move.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Adoption of agenda.
Move to adopt.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes. Item 5.1, presentation of Fire Department Service Award. Presentation of 20-year service award and unit commendation to Captain Anna Coombs.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the opportunity tonight. As you'll remember, last month we held our annual awards banquet. Unfortunately, as much as we encourage work-life balance, not everyone was able to attend, and a significant milestone was reached by one of our members who couldn't attend that event. So I wanted to make sure that she received the recognition that she has earned over the past 20 years. So I'll invite Captain Anna Coombs up front. So this evening we'll present her a 20-year service award. Captain Coons also is receiving a unit commendation ribbon for her participation as part of the group that worked a large accident. They're business 50 and 50. And then lastly, this evening, happy to present an additional award to Captain Coons. So the Fire Chief's Cross is not presented lightly. It's reserved for those who demonstrate sustained leadership, service above self, and commitment to strengthening both the fire service and the communities we protect. It represents courage, not only on the fire ground, but mentorship, advocacy, and building the next generation of leaders. Captain Coons embodies that standard. She leads and teaches at Camp Fury in both Kansas City and St. Louis, which is a nationally recognized initiative designed to introduce young women to careers in fire and emergency services. Through hands-on training, mentorship, direct exposure to the realities of the profession. She helps young women see themselves in roles they may never imagine possible. She also serves as a leader for Catching Fury. It's a companion initiative that focuses on mentorship, leadership development, and sustained engagement beyond camp experience. Catching Fury ensures that the inspiration sparked at camp turns into long-term growth, connection, and professional confidence. It's about building a pipeline and not just an event. Her leadership doesn't stop there. Captain Coons was instrumental in the founding of Missouri Women of Fire and has served as the organization's vice president since its inception. Missouri Women of Fire exists to support, mentor, and develop women in the fire service across our state, strengthens departments, builds professional networks, and raises the standard of leadership statewide. Because of her involvement and leadership within that organization, Warrensburg will host the Missouri Women of Fire Annual Training Conference next month here in April. And this brings high quality professional development to our region and showcases the professionalism and capability of the Warrensburg Fire Department to participants across Missouri. What stands out most about Captain Coons is not simply the roles she holds, it's the consistency of her commitment. She invests in people, she builds systems that last. She represents this department and the city with professionalism and integrity wherever she serves. For her leadership, her service to the broader fire service community, and her dedication to mentoring the next generation, it's my honor to present the Fire Chief's Cross to Captain Anna Coons.
Anna? Check everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congrats, buddy.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Public hearing 6.1. Public hearing on an ordinance amending chapter 27 of the Code of City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding data warehousing facilities, presented by Barbara Carroll, AICP Director of Community Development.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Late last fall, staff, given what was going on in the Kansas City metro area and the state of Missouri, and the discussions around AI data centers, staff started looking at our current ordinances in the city of Warrensburg to determine how we would treat such a request if an application was presented to the city for a similar type facility in the city of Warrensburg. And in looking at our zoning ordinance, we determined that that would be treated as land use 4.1.20 or 4.200, which is manufacturing, printing, processing, creating, repairing, renovating, painting, cleaning, assembling of goods, merchandise, and equipment. All operations conducted entirely within a fully enclosed building, with the majority of dollar volume of business done with, not done with walk-in trade. And so, or operations conducted within or outside a fully enclosed building. So both of those uses, very long titles, but both of those uses are allowed by right in our general business, our light industrial, and our heavy industrial districts. Meaning if they applied today, we would have an administrative building permit review and zoning review process and issue them a building permit at the point in time they met our current codes. There would be no opportunity for the neighborhoods to have any say in that process, or for that to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission or to the City Council for a public hearing and deliberative process in front of a legislative body. It would be a purely staff function with a building permit being issued once they met our existing codes. And so staff felt that there can be significant impacts, sometimes negative impacts, experienced by adjacent neighborhoods and communities from some of the features of these centers: the mechanical hum produced by equipment and external generators, demand on energy and water resources, and even things like exterior security lighting. So we felt that we should work on an ordinance for council to consider that would place some restrictions, performance requirements on said uses if they were to want to be located within our city limits. And we have prepared the attached ordinance that you have in front of you this evening. We looked at several other communities. There are not a vast endless amount of cities who have adopted regulations at this point in time. So we did look throughout the country, not just within Missouri. Some of the places that we reviewed ordinances from include Pavilion Township, Michigan, Loudoun County, Virginia, Fairfax County, Virginia, Jones City, Iowa, Kansas City, Missouri, and recently St. Louis, Missouri has put out some information on what they're doing. We had also consulted some publications that have been produced from the American Planning Association regarding these uses. So with all that information, then we put together a proposed zoning ordinance, and the majority of that is what you have in your packet. There were some changes at the Planning Commission level, and so you have a final product in front of you. But we put that in front of the Planning Commission in February. They had some additional information they wanted, and we brought that back to them in March. And ultimately, they recommended approval of the version that you have in front of you for consideration this evening. And so I'll go through that information. I'm going to walk through that ordinance and what it proposes, and then talks a little more specifically about some of the specific items that are in your staff report that Planning Commission asked for additional information on. So as we look at the proposed ordinance, it starts with section 1, where we create a definition for a data warehousing facility. That facility, also known as a data center, would consist of a warehouse-style building or buildings with 50,000 square feet or greater that store computer and networking systems, servers, and related equipment within a climate-controlled environment, as well as office support facilities, utility structures, and equipment, all of which serve the purpose of storing, managing, processing, and transmitting digital data. Then in section 2, you see where we have made that a new land use, 4.400, and shown that it would be allowed by a conditional use permit process in our light industrial and heavy industrial districts. What that does is it would not be zoned by right, it would be zoned by a conditional use permit only. And you're familiar with those because we have a lot of those types of uses in our city. And that's a process whereby they make application to staff and to the city. We'll review that and place that on an upcoming Planning and Zoning Commission agenda where they'll have a public meeting, and the public, the neighbors within 300 feet are invited to come and be a part of that process and hear specifically what they're proposing at that specific location. And then the Planning Commission would make a decision on that. And then it would come to City Council. There would again be a public hearing in front of council, and then ultimately you all would make a decision. So it's a process whereby you get to look, the city gets to look at a specific proposal in a specific address and weigh the benefit of that project against any negative impacts that would be on the community or on that specific neighborhood. And so there's a balance there that's reached. And if it feels that the public good outweighs, then you could vote to approve that. Or you might feel that the negative impacts are too much and cannot be mitigated, and you might not approve it. So it's a legislative process where you all get to make that final decision. Section 3 then establishes a parking requirement for this new land use. As it is very similar to the other land uses in land use category 4.00, we have kept the requirement for the other land uses in that section, 4.110 and 4.120. And that requirement is for 1 parking space per employee for single shift establishments, or 0.75 spaces per employee on the 2 largest consecutive shifts, plus space to accommodate parking and maneuvering room for trucks. So if there's only 1 shift, then it's 1 parking space per employee. If they have 2 shifts or 3 shifts, they automatically go to that 0.75 calculation. Section 4 then is where we establish the new performance standards in a new section 27-247. And I'm not going to read all of those to you, but they do cover generally site plan, which will allow us to measure some additional setbacks. It would have a 300-foot setback from any residence district, residential use, or public right-of-way. There are some architectural standards so that it cannot be one long flat wall. There would have to be some either recessed areas or some extended areas. There are noise regulations. The standard for that would be that the audible and ambient noises caused by the facility shall not exceed 60 decibels continuously during daytime hours, or nighttime continuous sound level of 50 decibels between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. And then states that those levels would be measured at the property line or the right-of-way line if it's adjacent to a street. And that if the ambient noise, the existing ambient noise of that area prior to the development of the facility is already greater than 50 decibels, let's say it's 60 decibels, then that would be set as the baseline instead of the 50. There are some light and glare restrictions, and so we ask that a photometric plan be submitted, landscaping and screening requirements, and the requirement to submit that with the landscaping plans with the conditional use permit application, and then also that they have to submit information with the conditional use permit application regarding the power and water information consumption of the proposed use and its impact on the community. Since the city of Warrensburg does not own the water utility or the power utility, we have put the burden on them that they must supply us with that information because the power and the water companies are not required to give us that information. So we're making them give us that information so that we would have as much information at the beginning of your process so that before the hearings are held, so that we can try to make an informed decision in those meetings. So a lot of the intent of this ordinance is to give you a say in that process, as well as to give you information so you can make decisions in that process. Sometimes with conditional use permits, you don't have all of this information. It comes forward later with the building permit, and we want you to have that up front at the time you're considering whether or not that use would be allowed in that location or not. So that ordinance, almost like this, very similar to this, went to the Planning and Zoning Commission in February, and they asked for some additional information. And one of those pieces of information they wanted more knowledge on was whether or not, at the time they saw it the first time, we did not have a 50,000 square foot in the definition. It just was this type of use with these type of systems and equipment, and you are a data warehousing facility. And the discussion at Planning and Zoning Commission was, well, where's the line between a server room at City Hall and a data warehousing facility? And so we went back and looked at that, and in looking at some of the other communities and some of the existing buildings within our community, staff recommended we set that at 50,000 square feet. And so for reference, the Evergy building on Young Street is about 50,000 square feet, and the community center is around 46,000 square feet. And so that size, around that size of a facility, about 50,000 square feet is where it would stop being a server room and start being a data warehousing facility, and subject to these requirements that I'm talking about this evening. There was also a discussion at the Planning and Zoning Commission about whether or not we should lower the 50 decibel sound requirement below 50 decibels to go down to, say, 40 decibels or even lower than that. And so at that point, staff took a sound meter out and took some field tests, and you have in your packet a list of the sites and the specific numbers we tested, but in general, the ambient noise was approximately 35.5 decibels for the interior of a single-family house. The exterior residentials were about 50 to 60 decibels at a house, 40 to 50 decibels at the property line in a residential area. In commercial areas, and some of those were industrial areas even, the noise fluctuated based on traffic and a rate of speed. So along North McGuire Street in front of Arby's, the noise level was approximately 60 decibels and rose with larger vehicles passing by. And then some of our manufacturing areas, they ranged between 54 to 100 decibels. Amtrak train the train comes in, I believe, I'm gonna look it up because it's really loud.
85 or
98.
It was the 98.5. It's loud. Louder than the freight train even at 83. But so ultimately, staff did not recommend that we change that number. We did make some other changes in the ordinance around sound, making sure we were consistent with the uses ambient and audible, and as well putting that hour restriction on nighttime noise. Before it just said nighttime, and we wanted to put specific hours on that. So we recommended leaving the 50 decibel at that number because we were already near those. And then we have that ability, if the existing is louder than that, is at 60, say, then that would be set at the base level. So there is some flexibility there based on existing conditions. The Planning and Zoning Commission also wanted to include that water utility information be submitted along with energy and power information. On the version that went to them the first time around, it only spoke to power. And so when we brought it back in March, we added water so that we would have that information as well from the water company for consideration. And then the last thing they wanted to understand was how the ordinance would be enforced. And the zoning ordinance is typically always enforced through a misdemeanor ordinance violation process through our municipal court system. There was the possibility, and we did look into doing a licensing ordinance whereby in order to continue to renew your license or receive your annual business license, you had to meet these requirements. And so we have that ordinance for you this evening as well. It is separate on your agenda, so I'm going to save some comments for it till it appears on the agenda here in a couple items. But that was a thought that came forward from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and so we'll speak to that in a little bit. We did pursue that. Following their discussion on their March 2nd meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the attached ordinance. As you see it tonight, that's the version they recommended approval of, and their findings and written recommendations are attached. Staff would also recommend approval of the ordinance and be happy to answer any questions.
Susie? No?
I definitely have questions, but does anyone else there want to go first?
It's a public hearing.
There is a sign up.
Oh, the sign up sheet, great.
Right, so do we ask our questions after this? Is that right? After the public hearing?
The ordinance is on the agenda as well.
Yes. Heath Jepson? If you would just tell us your name and address.
Yep, Heath
Thank-
Jepson. I live at 102 Southwest 95th Road right here in town. I want to start by saying I think this is a great idea. This is, as somebody that deals with this on a day-to-day basis, these developers want clear-cut rules. This will help us attract the right kind of developments to Warrensburg. With that said, and I've already talked to Mike a little bit about this, about the water usage. And I think we could get creative on how to eliminate any kind of evaporative cooling. That's a non-starter. We do not want that in our community. However, some of these cooling solutions are zero closed loop systems, things along those lines. They're fantastic, very little water use. The electric, that's going to be a case-by-case basis. My biggest issue kind of was with the sound. And McGuire 60 to 65 decibels. I want to make sure we're not sending the wrong message with this ordinance going, hey, you have to be super quiet or we don't want you. I mean, McGuire 60 to 65 decibels. I think that's reasonable. Just to give you guys some stats, and I know you've all probably read my book, or at least most of you have it. And it's free for anybody that wants it. The catalyst for me writing that, I watched a city, Pekin, Illinois, and we all know that Illinois is not exactly the bastion of attracting new industrial investment. I watched them waste $2 million in tax benefits. That's huge. Pekin's the size of Warrensburg. Imagine what we could do with an extra $2 million on our budget. The trick is, I think, just making sure that we're attracting the right kind of investments. In 2025 alone, $64 billion worth of investments were either canceled or blocked due to local opposition. That's 4.7 gigawatts of compute power. Make no mistake, those are going to get built. They're going to get built in China. Last year, the United States added 40 gigawatts of electrical generation capability. China added 8 times that. This isn't just a local thing. This is a national issue. And as I said in my book, people have a right to be mad. Big tech has been arrogant and have been very opaque. I think this brings a lot of things to the forefront, and being transparent with everybody is good for both sides. we need to find the middle ground. And I think this is a good way of starting there. And I'm happy to help any way I can. And if anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, I got to read your report. I don't have it memorized, but
No.
I went through it, and because there's a lot of military applications or concerns with Chinese, couldn't some of this money come from the military budget to do these instead of private?
Absolutely. And it's funny you bring that up because I actually had a conversation with my best friend about this about an hour ago. What essentially the DoD does, they buy the raw compute power from companies. I'm sure you all heard about the big Anthropic or Fluffle and ChatGPT coming in and taking over. A lot of that was due to moral standings that Anthropic had. But what the DoD does, they buy the raw compute power from these data centers. So that's where most of these data centers are privately owned, but all that money's coming in through government contracts and things.
I think in your paper, in your book, you talked about the potable water and the closed loop system for the water, which is very interesting. Getting clean water out of the system that we could use locally also, I guess.
You use it for irrigation.
Yeah, which is fantastic. The question, I think the biggest concern that I have personally is who pays for this? I mean, cost wise, does this get passed on to the consumers at a local level to pay for it in advance?
Now, this is where things get real interesting,
Yeah.
especially, and Missouri's kind of a mishmash. It depends on locality. And I haven't done a ton of digging into Missouri. I know we're kind of fighting on the fence with it right now. But in states like New York, they actually have a law that prevents a data center for paying for the very upgrades that they need. And that will absolutely get passed on to the consumers across the board. And like I noted in my book, our grid's 40 years old. It's falling apart. I see it every day. And these data centers are not a bad thing. They can be the catalyst that provides for a massive infrastructure upgrade for our country. And if we get private capital to come in and help pay for it, why not?
Yeah, again, that would be the concern. You mentioned there about federal law or something that hasn't really been enacted or anything on the pipeline at a federal level.
So I know that there's one of our state senators here in Missouri. I actually wrote a piece on LinkedIn on this if you want to go look it up. I think it was Senate Bill 1407 or 1408. One of our state senators, and this was more about like political use of AI and AI generated stuff.
Right.
How do you enforce it?
I read that, yeah.
So how do you enforce it? He literally made the case
Where they have
for
multiple states involved and
why you need a national infrastructure. And sadly, this technology is not moving at a year-to-year improvement. It's not even moving at month to month. It's week to week.
Yeah.
That's how fast this is moving. I'm 53. I can't keep up. And it's crazy. It's just, and like I said, it's going to happen. I'd much rather it happen here in the United States where we can control it and there's transparency than happen in China, because China don't ask their people for permission. They just do it.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate staff looking into this and come up with this ordinance because it isn't onerous at all. It's just to start to have some baselines.
And that's exactly what these companies want, clarity.
Yep.
And that clarity, I think, would really help us attract the right. We don't want somebody that's going to come in and drain the aquifer and be noisy. We want good neighbors.
Yeah.
And more, and I told Mike this earlier, more and more of these data centers are self-powering because the grid is so broken, they can't depend on it. There's a podcast that I highly recommend everybody go watch. It's called The 9 Nines. That's the uptime that these data centers require. 99.79. That's insane amounts of uptime.
Any other Susie, questions here?
I don't have questions, but I just wanted to say thank you, Heath, again for, for your information and for being willing to come help us all understand a little bit more about, especially, you know, related to the work that you do. So thank you for sharing all of this information with us.
Well, Susie, I know that this is not an easy subject for a lot of people to grasp. That's why I'm here. I've been doing it for 20 years. I live this day in and day out. So if I can be of any assistance, I'm here for the board.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Heath. We have no one else that signed up for this. So with that, we'll close the public hearing. Item 7.1, an ordinance amending chapter 27 of the Code of City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding data warehousing facilities, presented by Barbara Carroll.
Be happy to answer questions.
No questions for me.
Okay, I will launch in. Section 1 that talks about the acoustical barriers related to noise pollution. You've talked about water use and energy use, but does that apply, or could we, again, on when that comes back around? I mean, when someone has actually requested a conditional use permit, could we then address that related to the kind of air pollution that they might be producing, or the kind of water pollution, to making sure that they're obviously, if they're putting water back into the system, that it's clean water?
We don't, there's not a standard that's stating that it has to have a clean water standard like I think you're referencing. You would get information from them on what they're proposing to use. And then in your process, you could determine if you think that's not adequate, then you would look at requiring more of them.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Would that be something that we would go for assistance on that? Would that be the Department of Natural Resources? Would they have somebody specific that would be responsible to make sure that what is coming out of the facility going into our wastewater system is not overly tainted?
I don't know that they would be involved at the beginning. I think that they usually respond.
Do we know if there's?
Violations, so that would be on us or an expert we would hire.
Okay, so like the City of Independence and let's see, Kansas City, and then up around the airport, they're putting them in. Do you know if there's one particular department within the Department of Natural Resources? Am I asking for the right department? Okay, I am. All right. So one department that would be responsible for looking at what is coming out of the system. It comes in, they bring in the water, it's clean, it's city water, it's clean, it's meeting drinking requirements. So when it leaves the facility, what is it contaminated with that might be more than what a normal wastewater treatment facility could handle?
So in the licensing ordinance that's coming up, it contemplates discharge into the stormwater system as well as discharge into our sewer system. So it imposes expectations about the quality of that discharge. Air quality, that's not something that we address in the licensing. It's not something that we typically address beyond kind of the state and federal requirements that exist outside of our authority.
Okay.
And we'd also look at the application because it could be a closed loop system for the water.
Yes.
So with respect to the evaporative cooling, that wouldn't necessarily be required. And if water consumption and the downside of evaporative cooling is a concern, that's something that we could take up. We probably would want to ensure that we're consistent and it's not just data center evaporative cooling, but are others using evaporative coolers? And do we feel strongly enough about that that we want to regulate it? So that's a topic that the council wants to take up. I think you could take this action and then we could research that question and address that as a standalone policy.
The reason for my question is I was reading something about data centers, and I don't remember what community it was, but they were having problems with their Department of Natural Resources, that no one individual or no one department was responsible. So they would contact a department. It would get passed on and then passed on, and then nothing would come of it. So that's where my curiosity is coming from. What do we know about our Department of Natural Resources
Right.
and how effective they could be in a situation like that when we need that information?
In a scenario like that, it probably will put the burden back on us to advocate and try to kind of break that logjam. But specifically with respect to discharging into our sewer system, we have the ability to monitor that and we have standards. With respect to discharging it into the storm sewers or creeks, we have an NPDES permit with the state that imposes requirements on us. We've tried to incorporate compliance with that by way of licensing into our approach.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next question.
Um,
Do you know, Barb, why the Planning and Zoning Committee chose 50,000 square feet as opposed to 40 or 100?
Staff chose that number and we have seen that number in discussion with other communities. And it felt you don't want to go too small or you will capture unintentionally businesses that have multiple servers. Like in an office building, you can have multiple server rooms with multiple businesses in there. We don't want to unintentionally capture people who have the same type of equipment, but are using it for their businesses on site.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Next question is under section 4 about distance from development. Is that 300 feet? Is that currently what, for example, Evergy has to abide by, or other sort of light industrial in town?
No, I think the largest.
What section are we on?
Section 4, point B, minimum distance from residential.
Thank you.
It just seemed close to me. It just seemed like a fairly small distance from a home.
How long is a football field?
The other,
300 feet.
so 300 feet, right, so our minimum lot depth in new subdivision, minimum lot depth is 100 feet. So 300 feet is likely to pick up a lot across the street and another lot. So you'd have 100 feet, 50-foot right of way, another 100 feet, and maybe not. So we're looking to capture the depth of 2 to 3 lots out from the property in question. That is the depth at which we use for notifying people of conditional use permit hearings, 300 feet, that's our notice length. By contrast, your existing heavy industrial district, which you don't have a lot of heavy industrial land in the city. Both of your industrial parks now are zone light industrial. And so that would even be different for them, but heavy industrial, because it has some of the highest intense uses, has the greatest setback requirements within your current code. And those are at max when you're adjacent to a property in a residential district is 100 feet. So this is in excess of your existing requirement.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. That surprises me, but I obviously don't know the ordinances as well, obviously, as you do. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Last thing, what a surprise. I'm gonna talk about trees. Under which section is it? F, under the landscaping section. F. Could we,
Here.
We got a
I'm sorry.
fire truck going by on our end. Hang on a sec.
can you hear me now? you hear me?
Almost.
I could chat it in if need be.
Should be good.
Yeah, how about now? I think we're good now.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. So section F under landscaping, could we continue, please, the movement towards non-invasive Missouri native trees and just include that phrase in section A? Point F, section A underneath that point.
Yes, I mean, if you want to propose an amendment, you can do that.
All right, I propose that amendment. That the phrase non-invasive Missouri native be added in front of the word coniferous. And that's all my questions. Thank you, Barb. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Evan.
Got it.
So we did a motion. We need a second.
I'll second that
We're amending an ordinance.
to amend the ordinance.
And then by Jones. We do. Any more discussion?
Any other questions?
Call for vote.
Call for vote.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
That approves the amendment.
Right.
Now we have to approve the.
Now we have an ordinance.
Yeah, we're still in ordinance discussions.
So the next thing we would do is just move it to the second
If
reading.
there's no other questions,
Did you just move it to the second reading?
I will.
Thanks.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Kushner,
yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Okay,
Councilperson Jones, was that motion for as amended?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it
Of course it
was.
was.
Making sure, that's what I thought.
Yes.
thank you. An ordinance amending chapter 27 of the Code of City Ordinances, the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding data warehousing facilities. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.2. An ordinance amending chapter 22 of the Code of City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding data warehousing facilities, presented by Barbara Carroll.
So this is a companion ordinance that was brought forward, developed by the city attorney in response to questions at the Planning and Zoning Commission about how the zoning ordinance would be enforced. And while we would always strive to enforce that through the municipal court with an ordinance violation, there have been instances where the city has put licensing requirements for ongoing compliance, such as like we did with our short-term rental ordinance, where they have ongoing licensing requirements in order to renew their short-term rental license every year. And so this ordinance that you have in front of you at this time is a similar ordinance where there are additional requirements for facilities that meet that zoning designation of data warehousing facilities, just making it clear that in order that they will need a separate license for that facility to, in order to operate such a facility, and that at all times they must maintain compliance with Chapter 20, Article 4, Division 4 regarding illicit discharge detection and elimination regulations regarding non-stormwater discharge. Chapter 24 of the Code of Ordinances, Article 2, Division 3 regarding pretreatment ordinance for direct and indirect contributors into our sewer wastewater collection and treatment system. So getting to the point you were just asking about, and then also compliance with Chapter 27, the zoning ordinance, and making it clear that with compliance, we understand that we're asking you to comply with the National Pollutant Discharge and Elimination System. That's what the MPDES stormwater permitting under the Missouri Clean Water Law Act, that we're asking you, you've got to maintain compliance with that to maintain your license, as well as the noise requirements of Chapter 27, that you have to maintain compliance with that to keep your license from 1 year to the next. And so the impact being then, if they don't have compliance at any time, we would have the ability to not renew that license. There's a process for that, but you could reach that point if through that process ultimately. Staff would recommend approval of the ordinance.
And they would renew this ordinance, I mean, this license once a year?
Yes, it would be a regular business license that would, and those expire once a year.
Perfect.
I don't have any questions.
No questions? Questions? No. Thank you, Barbara.
Motion to move to second reading by title only?
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance amending Chapter 22 of the Code of City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding data warehousing facilities. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.3, an ordinance amending Chapter 28 of the Code of City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding smoking rooms, presented by Barbara Carroll.
Yes, back in 2009, the City of Warrensburg adopted Ordinance 4510, which established Chapter 28, Article 1 of our Code of City Ordinance, and prohibited smoking in enclosed places of employment and public places. Many of you will remember that change in our community if you lived here at that time. And within the last year, staff has received requests to consider allowing a cigar lounge or a smoking room within existing businesses. And after looking at those possibilities, we did feel that that could be accomplished subject to many performance standards. That could be accomplished without negatively impacting the rest of the business. And so you have an ordinance in front of you this evening that spells out what those requirements would be if this is something you're inclined to do. The staff report highlights, spells out in the list the highlights to that ordinance. There are a lot more details in the ordinance itself. I would say first that smoking rooms would include any lighted cigar, cigarette, pipe, or tobacco product, including any liquid or vapor form of nicotine. It does not include the marijuana, recreational or medicinal. That would continue to be governed through the state laws and our other portions of our existing ordinance. So it's not including marijuana. It's pretty much everything but that. And this ordinance is set up, it does not create a smoking room as its own standalone use. So you don't see it like we just did where there's a table of use, we assign it a number and we assign it a parking. It's not like that. It's to be an accessory use to a bigger business. So a smoking room is going to be part of a larger business. And it would be allowed to be a part of an accessory use to the zoning land use categories 2.0, which is sales and rental of goods, merchandise, and equipment, basically all our retail. 5.400, social fraternal clubs and lodges, union halls, and similar uses. 6.000, recreation, amusement, and entertainment. That captures things like bowling alleys, that type of thing. And 8.000, restaurants, bars, nightclubs. I think we recognize those when we see them. A smoking room would not be able to be more than 25% of the primary patron space of the establishment. They would be limited to the things I just listed, the types of products I just listed, and they would have to be purchased on site at the time of consumption. So just like a bar, you're not bringing your liquor from your house and drinking it at the bar. You have to buy it at the bar. You're going to have to buy your tobacco product at the cigar lounge or at the smoking room. They must maintain compliance with all adopted codes, including our building, fire, development, and licensing codes. And many of them already have, like our building code already has some requirements. Our mechanical code has requirements. Fire code has requirements. So we're just referencing throughout this, you need to comply with those. And then they must maintain a continuous negative pressure differential relative to all adjoining spaces, and that they are designed and operated so that smoke does not migrate or infiltrate to non-smoking portions of the building it's in, adjacent buildings, or common areas. So smoke migration is something that will need to be controlled. If it moves beyond the fully enclosed room, then the building official and the fire marshal have ability to come in and get you back into compliance or put you into an enforcement process. This did not go to the Planning and Zoning Commission because it's not located in Chapter 27, the zoning ordinance, or Chapter 21, the subdivision regulations. So with that, I will say staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I didn't realize that the product had to be purchased at the lounge, which I guess is good. That's a good thing. And I guess where can you smoke marijuana?
The state lets you do
at
that at
home.
your house and other
Property.
private places, but you can't do it like in public spaces.
Is everybody looking at me?
I didn't know.
Any other questions for Barbara? Susie?
I don't have a question, just another appreciation. Really, one of the things I'm thinking about is if this is downtown and near apartments that are, on the second level, that seems like there's did a lot of work to try to make sure the smoke is not gonna be migrating out of a smokestack into someone's window.
Right.
I think it's gonna be quite challenging to make sure that doesn't happen. In a space like downtown or some other place where there's a house right next door. But I just really appreciate the thought that went into that and the clarity of that. Thank you.
Yeah, if I could, a little bit of background. This was in response to inquiries and interest that was expressed. And so it is a good effort on staff's part to try to balance interest. It creates the possibility, but it does address it in terms of codes and how it functions such that a business is going to have to want to do this and make the investment. It's not just setting aside a space without proper accounting for smoke migration and kind of the mechanical control of it all.
The equipment necessary to move the air in and out to keep it clear so it doesn't turn blue in that room and get it outside. it's gonna be pretty large equipment and could be loud. So I think, we need to be aware. When I think of downtown, there's a lot of loft apartments around it, so it could be loud for the neighbors. Probably no louder than what a rooftop air conditioner would sound, I'm assuming.
I don't know.
And then I was thinking of the ones that are in the city limits, like there's players, they're way out. They're not, there's no residential or apartments next to them. But that would be, you certainly wouldn't want to be blowing all that smoke at somebody's window.
Right, and the ordinance addresses that. If you have to, you can't move it into someone else's area.
Thank you.
I guess, I'm sorry, I do now have a question just related to, do you know the business who has, or businesses who have expressed interest in this? Have they contacted you about this since it's been put on the agenda? Do we, by any chance, have anybody there who want to speak to it? I know we don't have a public hearing. I'm just curious if the folks who want this have
So,
been able to get any clarity about all these
yeah,
requirements.
so
which
I don't want to speak for them, nor do I necessarily want to call them out because I think they're just kind of looking at their business options.
Sure.
But I have been in communication in terms of making them aware that we were drafting it. It was on the agenda today. And then if the council wants to, you could certainly open it up to the audience and see if anybody's here that wants to speak to it.
I would
If we had any
personally
other questions. We
like
haven't-
that.
I don't have any other questions.
I don't have any questions. No. Nope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
And so is there anybody in the audience? I would like to ask that we make it possible for folks to speak to it if they choose.
Oh, I know.
Do they want, if they want,
I know who
Only
it
if they
is.
want to.
they may not want to.
And, I'd say it's the mayor's call.
Address.
State your name and address, please.
Lee Roads, 820 Southwest 801st, Holden, Missouri. So when we purchased our building up on the courthouse square, we were looking for a way to migrate our current cigar lounge, which is outside, to the inside. We found some different solutions since then. But part of this is to allow downtown to have different experiences that we can allow travelers and tourists and residents alike. Currently, there's so many things that restrict us from giving people from Kansas City or St. Louis that are coming in town opportunities to really enjoy themselves. That seems like a pretty small thing, being a cigar room. But one of the things that Main Street America has have identified as one of the biggest things that we're going to address in the coming economy is how to give people experiences that they're looking for. Because a lot of people aren't going to have the money that they want to spend, but they're going to look for experiences, towns to go to spend the day, hang out. They might be spending a lot of money, but they're looking for experiences. This, I think, is a bigger part of effort, part of a bigger effort. The smoking ordinances is also possibly sidewalk cafes and things like that, working on experiences that we can address through more common sense ordinances. Going to some of the other questions like the amount of decibels that are going to be created by this. I already looked at a system that we're going to employ on ours. We don't have to do that now, but the decibels is actually below the air conditioning. And most of the air conditioning system going to like negative pressure and stuff is going to be addressing most of that smoke migration. There'll be a smaller one that you'll add on to help with that, but it'll be less than the units that are already going to be existing in any type of commercial application.
That's great, Lee. That's good news. I'm glad to hear that there's a system available that's at or below an air conditioner.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 different manufacturers specifically make equipment for smoke migration for cigar lounges. They have these enormous charcoal filters that help soak up that you clean. They also move it out. They kind of clean it themselves before they push it out. And like Mike said, you guys have really addressed so many of the different issues here of having to be a certain amount of the certain amount of feet over the sidewalk before it can be, the air has to be egressed. For one, that's not smoke that's gonna be going out of there. If they're from the inside, the filtration system will fix the smoke and then the air will go out already pretty much cleaned. But they've gone to a lot of trouble to make sure that there's all sorts of protections in there. So anybody that's gonna wanna do this, like he said, they're gonna spend $15,000 to $20,000 to put in a cigar room. That's pretty much what it's gonna cost between the filtration system, the modifications to the HVAC system. So somebody who's going to want to do this is really serious about what they're going to do and the experience that they're going to offer downtown Warrensburg, or I guess outside downtown Warrensburg.
Well, yeah, again, thank you for being willing to invest in downtown. And, you know, this is not an experience that I personally will probably enjoy. Being around that cigar smoke is not something that I can personally handle, but I do know that there are others who would really enjoy it. So
Yeah,
you've
we
done
have
so
people
much, and we appreciate you.
We have people from coming out of town all the time that they find out we have a cigar lounge outside back and they like, oh my God, this is our favorite spot. We're gonna come back to downtown Warrensburg, really just for that experience of be able to have a bourbon and a drink or a Cabernet and go back there and kind of really enjoy themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you, Mayor Euler, for allowing that. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We have an ordinance.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance amending chapter 28 of the Code of City Ordinances of the City of Warrensburg, Missouri regarding smoking rooms. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yeah.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.4, an ordinance adding section 2-545, establishing a fund application grant cycle and annual consideration of award to Chapter 2 Administration, Article 6 Finance, Division 3 Trust Fund of the Code of Ordinances concerning the Charles W. Stevenson Trust Fund. It's quite a title there. Presented by Jody Schneider, City Clerk. Welcome, Jody.
Well, welcome. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. We've discussed this in the past of having the Stevenson Fund set up more of a formal process. The Stevenson Fund was formally established by the city and codified based on the last will and testament dated 1928. So the city council has been overseeing these trust funds for quite some time. The issue today seems to be the increase in the community's need for charitable education or library purposes. And with that comes more request. To be a fair and equitable process, it came to our attention that we need a process, a timeline to have the request reviewed by City Council as the committee. So what is proposed in the ordinance is to have the fund application grant cycle begin October 1 with our fiscal year. And we would accept applications through January 31. Then once that cycle is finished, the committee, which is the city council, would then review those applications. The budgeted amounts at that point would be already established, the budget projections for that annual, for the allocation of those funds. And then the city council can sit down at one point and see what the needs are for the community for that year and make those decisions. The grant award then would happen on the second Monday in March. And then the process would not continue on throughout the year. We have increased knowledge in our council letters by establishing the last 5 years of requests that we've received. And as you've probably have seen, those have increased. So that is the bulk of the proposed adding of this section to the Stevenson Fund. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Just one clarification. You say we will take applications beginning October 1st and through when, please?
January 31st.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll open that cycle up. A lot of fiscal years run a calendar year. And so I think a lot of organizations will know what their needs will be for that fiscal year. And probably these requests may be even more efficient at that point to have a timeline set is what the hope is. So. Yeah, I like this. Good.
Yes, a couple
Great idea.
questions.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your work on it, Jody.
Sure.
Remind me, please, there are a couple of other funds, but we're not working to create applications for those, right? I think it's Brown, and I'm sorry, I was checking my notes, but I can't remember the other one. It's a hyphenated name, I
Well,
think.
actually, Council Member Latari, there's the Chrissy Trust Fund and the Brown Trust Fund. And I've been reviewing those restrictions on those funds. Charitable is very common amongst all three of them. And so we may be able to, once I speak with our council, may be able to pool the funds, keep them in the separate funding categories that they are now, but we may be able to pool funds based on the number of requests we get. But again, that's very in its early stages at this point. So we'll be bringing that back to you all.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think at a minimum, we could synchronize the timelines. That way, number one, the October 1st date, you've set the budget by then, so you have kind of the proactive discretion to determine the amount. And then we could synchronize the timelines, and even if we have to have separate applications, you can at least be considering them all at the same time. Ideally, if we could roll it all into one, it'd be even more efficient.
Great, thank you. And so the application itself is yet to come, right? This is just establishing that we're going to have one.
The Stevenson Fund does have an application form on the website.
Oh, right.
There is
sorry.
a request. There is a request on the city's website already for the Stevenson Fund. But yeah, the further discussion would need to occur to whether we can roll all that into one generic or general trust fund application.
Right. Thank you. I'm
We'll
sorry.
bring that back to you.
I knew that and I forgot that.
Okay.
Sorry, Jody.
Oh, that's fine.
Has that field been added though so folks can request a specific dollar amount?
Correct. Yes, that has. Yes, that has.
Great. And then I don't know if this is really a question for you so much necessarily, but are we then going to pause accepting? I know we're going to be basically out of money after this meeting, but we're going to pause requests, accepting requests from now through October 1st so that people don't have an expectation that they might get funding and then there's not going to be funding available.
Yeah, I actually was thinking of that today of where they can find the request form, of actually putting a notice on there that requests would be temporarily paused until we begin again in January.
That would be great.
Actually in October.
October.
I'm going to
right,
have
yeah.
to put the language in there.
Sure.
If this proposed ordinance is passed, I will be updating that language and then putting out notifications to all of those who have requested in the past that the process has changed. So yeah, all of that will go on the website. And then I think October 1, we'll start a social media post to alert everyone then of the procedure. So
Thank
that's
you.
the plan.
That was going to be my next question. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Good.
About promotion. Thank you.
Good.
And then last, this is only tangentially related, so feel free to say, we'll talk about that another time, Jody or Mike. It's kind of listing out of the in-kind, especially that the city already gives or provides to various nonprofits in town. I think that would be an important part of this whole conversation,
In-kind value.
along with the contract conversation about kind of who we have contracts with and why.
Right,
And-
yeah, I think that's a good point. I think the opportunity will be the budget conversation, because at that point we'll be not only discussing, the Stevenson Fund kind of dictates or spells out how that funding is determined, but you have some other things that are much more discretionary at the council level. And as you start making those decisions, we can provide you background about in-kind services, past awards. And then as we discussed in strategic planning, I believe you'd have the ability to set some dollar allocation as a starting point to then be seed funds for a more formalized application process.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Thank you again, Jody. Really appreciate your work on it.
Sure, sure.
Any further questions? Nope.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Kushner,
Yeah.
Latari, oh, sorry, Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance adding section 2-545, establishing a fund application grant cycle and annual consideration of award to Chapter 2 Administration, Article 6 Finance, Division 3 Trust Fund of the Code of Ordinances concerning the Charles W. Stevenson Trust Fund. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yeah.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll just say, Mr. Yelton, thank you for your patience. We're working our way down the list here, but we haven't forgotten you. I'm just sorry. We're getting down there. Thank you. Item 7.5, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a contract with Consumer Collection Management, Inc. for collection agency services presented by Carolyn Tui, Finance Officer.
Evening, Mayor and members of the council. Before you today is an ordinance authorizing the city to execute a contract with Consumer Collection Management for collection agency services. As a background to this, the city currently offers both sewer and solid waste collection services to city residents. And while most accounts are current, there are some that are delinquent, and having a collection agency would offer the city an opportunity to collect on those delinquent accounts that would otherwise have to be written off as bad debt. So the city previously had a collection agency. However, they initiated the termination of the agreement in August of 2024. And during that time, the city has not had debt collection services, which led to this RFP for a new collection agency. So this RFP resulted in a submission of 7 proposals, and they were evaluated by a committee comprised of staff within finance, utility billing, and solid waste departments. And each proposal was evaluated based on criteria written out in the RFP. Following this process, the selection committee determined that Consumer Collection Management's proposal was the best and highest ranked proposal. They demonstrated the strongest understanding of the city's requirements and relevant experience with similar projects and had a competitive cost structure. And staff kindly recommends that the acceptance of Consumer Collection Management's proposal and the acceptance of the ordinance as proposed, as submitted. And you're happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
I do have a question. I think I recall, I'm not sure when it was.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt for 1 second to give Councilwoman Latari an opportunity?
Hi, thank you. I'm so sorry. I do need to step away for a bit. I apologize. It shouldn't be more than 10 minutes at very most. I'll get back on just as soon as I can. Thank you for your patience. Sorry to interrupt, Carolyn and Jan.
Thank you.
My question, I do recall a couple years ago that we had delinquent accounts, bad debt, and we wrote it off.
So they were written up to 5 years from that point. So there has been a balance accumulating since then of new delinquent accounts.
So every 5 years, we write off bad debt.
Typically, but I have, yeah,
Approximately.
yeah.
Okay, so
I
what,
have to confirm what the
So
exact.
this collection agency be trying to collect that debt in the interim. And then every now and then we'll go back and look at what is yet to be collected and determine whether it should be written off. But this is kind of the interim step of doing our due diligence to try to collect before we write it off.
okay, all right, thank you. Good.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Thank you, Carol.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari not present. Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a contract with Consumer Collection Management, Inc. for collection agency services. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yeah.
Osborne,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 7.6, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute change order number 1 with BC Mowing and Tilling LLC for the 2023 Sunset Hill Cemetery contract mowing services.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. So the ordinance in front of you is to extend the mowing contract with BC Mowing. The original contract was awarded April 2023. It was a competitive bid process. Unfortunately, we only had one bid at that time. In that contract, the amounts to increase every year were in there. So we are wanting to extend this contract by 2 years until 2027 and then go out for RFP again and do that. At this time, it's the price and competitiveness of it would be difficult to make much changes. This contract change order is coming to you because it is close to the $100,000 mark. And depending on the mowings, depending on the weather. So we are suggesting that it does get approved. Stand for any questions.
Yeah, I just had a question because we had a couple of challenges maybe 2 or 3 years ago with this. If we would get a lot of rain by chance, maybe in July, are we able to do something like have an extra mowing? I saw the charge in there, the charge per hour, but I know we had a gap there in July a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we have been in contact with the contractor and we're asking the contractor to modify his means and methods a little bit to make sure that it continues to meet our standard of what we want. He is willing to work with us and we're hoping that this year it's better means and methods to continue.
It was better last year. 2 years ago was a challenge.
Yeah, 2 years was a challenge. It's a challenge every year, but yeah, with the wetness that year was, and then he had some employee issues.
Yeah, we noticed.
Yeah. But he's modifying the means and methods this year and hopefully it's going to work out better for him and for us.
It looks nice when I go out.
I didn't introduce you, actually. Phil Adler's Director of Public Works. Welcome. Sorry about that. Any questions for Phil? No. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Kushner,
Yeah.
Osborne,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute change order number 1 with BC Mowing and Tilling LLC for the 2023 Sunset Hill Cemetery contract mowing services. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8.1, a resolution accepting the donation of a lithograph print by Dennis T. Yates entitled "I'm on Time," depicting the Warrensburg Historic Train Depot, presented by Jody Schneider, City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. It was my pleasure to receive a call a week ago, about a week and a half ago, from Mr. Dale Yelton. He contacted the city. He wanted to donate the lithograph print that you see in front of you. The artist was Dennis T. Yates. And it depicts the Warrensburg Historic Train Depot. So a little bit about Mr. Yelton during our phone conversation, and he is here, Mr. Yelton. If you'd like to come forward, you're more than welcome, and you can describe the history on your own. I was just going to alert City Council that you owned the Comfort Inn. You built it and managed it and operated it for many, many years.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll let you finish the history of this if you'd like.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I don't know if any of you've tried to argue with Jody, but she's very persuasive.
We don't.
I really wasn't planning to come before you. When we built the hotel, we wanted a railroad theme. And I played football in high school with Dennis. And he's probably, at least in my opinion, the finest painter to ever graduate from Central Missouri State, which I know it has a fancier name now, but it was a good school and it did him well. And he did the school proud. When he was in college, he played football for the team that won the Peach Bowl. He was a linebacker. He's a big, strong, burly guy who had a delicate touch with a brush. And as you can see from the work before you, he was a painter of great note. He, in fact, established a group, national painter of oil and acrylic, that he founded in 1990, I believe. He has been recognized with a number of really high-level commissions to paint very special pieces. So when we decided we were going to build the hotel, one of the first things I did was contact Dennis and ask him to paint a number for us to put in our lobby. And then I asked him if I could copy those and use them in some of the rooms and stuff. When we sold the hotels, those things all didn't go with the sale, and they ended up in a storage shed. And I found them the other day, and I wasn't looking for recognition for me or for what we did in building the hotel or anything like that. It seemed a waste to see such beautiful pieces not be displayed. And so I asked my wife if she agreed with me that I should contact the city and ask you if you would have a place that you could hang them that would be more appropriate than the closet they were in. I appreciate your considering it, and I understand that with the vote of your membership that the adoption would go forward and that you'd be able to accept the piece. I appreciate your taking a hard look at it, and I hope that you'll honor Dennis, who died in 2010 at a way too young an age and robbed this nation of one of its great artists. Thank you very much.
Mr. Yelton, thank you very much. I met Denny several times. He would come back to Warrensburg a lot. My mother bought many of his prints, mostly landscapes that he was doing down in the Ozarks.
Yeah, he said his shop was at Osage, Missouri.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And of course he lived at Preston, which is in the middle of the hillbilly world, and I had family down there too.
Yeah.
And I think he had 6 children and a beautiful wife.
Yeah.
And made a great contribution They are.
And he was a great guy. And,
Thank
the
you.
Army toughened him up because he wasn't a big kid coming out of Raytown.
No, he was pretty good size and he was a good linebacker
Yeah.
in high school. But he got stronger in the Marines and he came back and played even better.
Yeah.
When he came out here. And of course, the team was good too.
Yeah. It's a good
And
guy.
they've had a few like that in the more recent past, but I don't think he'll ever be forgotten as a player for Central Missouri State.
We appreciate it. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
We have a resolution.
Mhm.
Move to adopt resolution.
Thank you. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8.2. Resolution approving a donation request by Autism Awesome Stronger Together, Inc. from the Stevenson Fund in the amount of $200 presented by Jody Schneider, City Clerk.
Thank you again. The Stevenson Fund has been requested to donate funds. These funds would go towards, let me find my list here. If awarded, these funds will be used for sensory equipment and program supplies to increase the access to inclusive sensory programming in Warrensburg. And the request was for higher than the $200, but $200 was the end of our proposed budget for this year. So we had to make it a $200. If you have any questions, I can answer those questions for you.
I move to approve the resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 9, appearances to the council not listed on the agenda. We have a long list. Oh, there's no one on that one. Okay. Item 10, miscellaneous matters from the mayor of city council. Welcome back.
Nope.
Councilperson Latari. Any other? No? Thank you. Item 11, city staff update, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I understand last meeting may have been a record for the shortest meeting. This meeting's about average, and I just want to forewarn you, things are stacking up for the April 13th meeting. So you might prepare yourself. There might be quite a bit on that agenda. One thing in particular, which I think you're aware of, is we went ahead and distributed a survey to the liquor license holders in the community about the state legislation that extended liquor sales hours during FIFA World Cup. And so we're trying to gather information from them in terms of whether that's something that they see value in, and if so, how they would take advantage of it. But then we also are trying to get the word out that we're formatting it as public comment so that you can also hear comment from anyone that wants to express an opinion one way or the other. No action necessary on that particular meeting other than provide some preliminary indication to staff how you'd like to proceed, and then we can do the preparation, leave with some homework, do the preparation, bring that back to you if needed. So wanted to forewarn you of that. And then one other thing of note with kind of the international goings on with the Iran war and oil prices, it's causing us to revisit our plan in terms of timing related to street work. Our original intention was to try to do that as quickly in this season as possible. So staff is looking at that, talking to the contractor. It may be advantageous for us to try to see if oil prices settle down before we contract for street work. So we'll be taking that into account. And then right around the corner, spring will have sprung and it'll be time to get to work on streets and sidewalks and curb and gutter, among other things. But happy to answer any questions you might have.
That April 13th long meeting will probably be Councilperson Kushner's last meeting, so that's a good send-off there.
That's right.
Thank you very much. City staff updates, Administrative Services Department. City Clerk,
Nothing additional.
Community Development.
I know I talked a lot, but I'm gonna promote my tech system for solid waste services again. The QR code is in the packet tonight if you are online or in person and want to sign up. It's only for route information, will not be used for marketing or things like that. And so far we have 65 people signed up.
Oh, great. Thank you for doing that.
You one of them?
Just now.
Perfect. It started going out, we're seeing our numbers go up because our notice went out on the bill starting last week with zone one. So we think we'll start getting more signed up now.
Anything else?
That's all.
Great, thank you. Fire Department, Chief?
Mayor, speaking of the April 13th meeting, I am scheduled to be at the Fire Academy to present my capstone and finish coursework. We'll see if they're able to open by then. But since I'm hopeful and planning on not being here, and for the first time in, I don't know, my 24 years here, minus a slight hiatus, working directly for Councilman Kushner. The fire department chipped in and got a parting gift because apparently the retirement gifts weren't good enough to stay retired. So we're gonna have one more to send him off and thank him for his time as a council member. So.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you very much.
Well deserved, Jim.
Thank you, Chief and Chief. Appreciate it. Parks Department, Chris?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and council members. The front desk project and lobby of the community center has reached substantial completion. This morning, we transferred front desk operations from the hallway to the new front desk area. So you can enter the front doors, and I must say, it looks awesome. The park board will be planning ribbon cutting on that, and that'll be announced very soon. This project is going to be under budget by about $2,500. It is finished on time. I want to thank the mayor and city council and the city administration for your support of the park board and also the vision of staff on this project. I'm also pleased to announce that year to date, the line item for budget of membership at the community center is about $28,000 higher in revenue this same time last year. And this is without any fee increase on the memberships and fees. And our total members that we have now, this is monthly and annual, is about 1,700. Since January, this is a growth of around 500 members.
Wow.
Very pleased with that. I had mentioned before that the park board president established a special appointed committee to review fee structure, programs, and financial assistance. And that first meeting took place this last week. Very positive input, a lot of different ideas, and it's going to require a little bit more information gathering from staff, and wanted you to know that that process is underway. Also, the second meeting for the reestablished Park Foundation was last week, and ideas are already coming together for park projects and financial assistance for fundraising for those items. On Lions Lake, I know and many others are happy to see the lake is full at this time. I've been in contact with Missouri Conservation in regarding restocking the lake. The first stocking of the lake is going to begin very soon, this spring. They're going to stock the lake first with smaller fish like bluegill, around about 4,000 actually. Nice. This way they can establish the population without becoming dinner for the larger fish. So they will let that happen for a while. Good. The next stock will be then in the fall with around 800 or so of larger of the catfish at that time. And then largemouth bass will not be distributed until next spring, 2027. This is a stocking plan that they've used over the state of Missouri. It's an example of many other states that do this as well. And since we are a part of the fishing education program and we work with community fishing, wildlife management, there's no charge for this stocking from the state. There will also be new signs that are going to be put out that says it's time for catch and release. We're asking people to let the fish population grow a little bit. And this is done through the Fisheries Division of Missouri Conservation. And that's all I have right now. Park Board meeting next Wednesday, and I'll answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Police Department?
Nothing further.
Job. Public Works Department?
I'll keep it short. I hope.
Yes.
So we do have emerging contaminants. We do have an open public meeting on the environmental impact on April 23rd at 10 a.m. in this room. So just everybody who's available can make it. The treatment plants, they're installing the SBR equipment in the west plant and still trying to fix a slight leak in the east plant one. Then the reed beds are coming along. They're doing earthwork around them. Enterprise lift station project, the bid opens the March 26th. And then we'll come back with hopefully a couple weeks with a price on how much that's going to cost and go forth there. We're anticipating a demonstration draft plan for Safe Streets for All by March 30th. The solar panels project at the east and west plant, they've already got some of the structures to hold the panels in the ground. It's moving along. It should take a couple more weeks, and then we've got to wait on Evergy to accept it. Police department's solar panel project should be starting probably end of this week, beginning next. So you'll start to see some movement there. And then the other stuff, like Mike was saying, we're trying to hold off on seeing what the oil prices do. So. Any questions?
On the emerging contaminants, I've been making a point of using McGuire Street in both directions. And today going north on McGuire, I noticed that where that's gonna go, it's like this really bad, like overnight. So it's falling apart.
Yes, it is going to be rebuilt though.
It is, but before we have to start putting steel plates out.
Well, so when this construction project comes in, the road will be detoured. So we're hopefully not have steel plates. We might have to do a pothole patch or something in that one area. But once this construction project starts, we're
So you
gonna
think-
shut the street down for a while, and you're gonna use north to go around that area.
So about how far out are we? A month, 6 weeks,
So
2
we've
months?
got to go with this
Right,
environmental meeting on April 23rd. And then after that, we will work as fast as we can to get the request for bids or proposals out to the contractors. So that'll take 60 days.
probably this fall.
So we're hoping that this fall they'll be in here.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And I'm pretty sure the mayor and council know this, but for anyone that may not, as a clarification, the area there with the emerging contaminants, that was not completely rebuilt and repaved like the rest of the road segment. That was just a temporary asphalt overlay.
Right.
So your point is well taken that it's sagging there,
It's sagging.
but it was not reconstructed like the rest of the
Right.
corridor.
Put that on the bird.
The
Sure, it'll
next
be
meeting.
after tonight.
No, it has been. It has been already.
It is. It's
Yeah,
on
it's
the
on
bird.
there. City staff update, Warrensburg Convention Visitors Bureau. It appears there won't be a report tonight.
Yeah, Marcy's
Okay.
traveling for work. She's in Jefferson City with the Missouri Association of Commencing Visitors Bureau, so no report tonight.
All right, adjourned. Thank you.